to heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We'll look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in Kate. Kate, good to see you this evening.
Good to see you too, brother. How are you?
Getting ready to start school, so it's also like 105 here. So
you could have gone with another 2 months of summer, huh?
Yeah, definitely, or like 20 years. But
I mean, amen.
That's coming.
It's coming. Retirement's coming.
Now, wait, not that soon. I'm not that old.
Well, I know, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of hope.
Yeah. Next, we've got Pete. Pete, good to have you with us this evening.
Hey, we were like 76 today here, so
yeah, it was 106 today. So
you take that 76 and shove it somewhere, Pete.
But in the wintertime it'll be 22 here, and you'll all be.
Yeah, but you get snow, and it's like the pretty snow.
22 in snow is different than 22 in just dirt.
Yeah.
Well,
you get the pretty snow, except when you get like Snowmageddon and it's blocking your doors. But see, I know your wife, and I know that you are set when that happens with all the food. So
that's right. Yep.
And last but not least, from the land of the 72 and rainy, Steve.
Hi, everyone. Actually, it's nice and sunny and near 80 today.
Nice.
Ooh, not near 80. How will you ever?
Wait, near 80 being like it's less than 80?
It's like 79. We might hit 80 this afternoon. So
cool. Well, I'm coming to you from the surface of the sun, where it's like 108 degrees, and everything
like 138.
Yeah, and everyone basically just dies every day, and then somehow we pull a Jesus and like resuscitate and do it all again tomorrow. So it's fine.
Somehow my daughter is out in that working.
No, absolutely not. I have an immense amount of respect for people like your daughter, because I stay inside and my energy bill is very high because we keep our thermostat set very low. So I'm not sorry.
Yeah, if I get hot, I get cranky. So
same.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay, guys, this week we finally finished Secret Invasion. Huzzah. Now, I was kind of confused whether it was Secret Invasion finale or the second WandaVision finale, with them shooting their energy back and forth at each other, or what was going on there. We do find the stuff that actually happens. Nick Fury goes back up to the spaceship with his wife, and we find out that Rhodey has been a Skrull, I'm going to say, since Civil War.
That's the general consensus. No one knows exactly, but
because
he still had his hospital gown on.
Yeah.
So in Infinity War and Endgame, Rhodey was a Skrull.
Back up. When was he? So he was in the hospital in.
So he broke his he like crashed in Civil War and broke his spine, I think it was.
Yeah, Infinity War was like a year and a half ago that I watched it in my journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm gonna have to discuss this with my husband because this is big news.
Yes.
And at minimum, I've seen since Endgame, because he showed up in a couple of the other series. Like he had a one-off in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It was in Falcon and Winter Soldier in one episode.
I think that was it.
But the general consensus is that since the Rhodey in Infinity War and in Endgame was a Skrull.
Yeah. Since sometime after Civil War. Before Infinity War. Yeah. Is
correct.
What they're.
Is the general consensus.
Yeah.
Wait. So what I'm hearing is, in whatever comes next, whatever the next show that Rhodey is in,
It will be
gonna
real
have
Rhodey.
is he gonna have no memory of the snap of
Correct.
he's gonna have
He
no
doesn't know
memory.
Iron Man is dead.
Yeah, in theory, that's no one. Marvel has not confirmed it. The director in an interview did say he thinks that it's been since Civil War. But
how can the direct? Okay, but if you're the director of something, you don't.
The director does not know what's going on in Kevin Feige's brain.
Yeah,
Kevin. There are several people that I would just like to take a little journey into their brain, into their genius.
He's not even top 5.
Kevin Feige is one of them. George Lucas is another.
Oh, I don't think George Lucas's brain would be so interesting now. Maybe 20 years ago.
20 years ago, and we can try and talk him out of the prequels.
But then we wouldn't have Rebels, which we're going to talk about later in this episode.
Oh, we could still have Rebels. Because, let's face it, nobody needs Jar Jar.
Misa Jar Jar Binks come for comic relief.
So,
okay, anyways.
The first question, and I'm going to start with you, Pete, because I know I've just been waiting for the Marvel series that you and I agree on, and I think this is the one. Pete, was this series worth our time?
No. 100% no. I thought we were going to do what we liked about it, as we usually do, and we're not.
Did anybody have anything they liked about it?
Yes, Olivia Colman.
Yes.
And I liked that they used practical effects for the Skrull makeup.
Yes.
And
I also go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say much of the acting was good.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Between Don Cheadle and Emilia Clarke and Olivia Colman, and I really liked Samuel Jackson's wife that I don't know her name. The acting itself, I felt was very good.
I'd say I liked the premise.
The premise was fine.
No, the premise.
Yes.
Agreed.
I think do they pull it off? That's the question.
No.
I liked the premise.
So I haven't talked to you guys beforehand about this, but I'm going to talk about the finale. Why I think the series is completely stupid. Okay, so here's the plan that I assume Nick Fury came up with. Is he's going to give Gaia, again, spoilers. He's going to give Gaia. First of all, was anybody fooled that was Nick Fury with?
No, no. That was never going to be Nick Fury.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't think it was Gaia. I thought it was his wife.
Oh, okay. Well, that would have been possible. Yeah.
Because that phone call that they had, the phone call where he was like, I'm close enough to touch you, baby, or whatever it was. I thought both Casey and I both thought that was code, and we thought that she was Nick Fury until it showed Gaia.
Oh, that might have made slightly more sense. But anyways, so he gives Gaia this vial. Gaia is not really 100% on his side, first of all, right? I mean, she came to his side because Gravik killed her dad, but she's not 100% on his side. She gives him this vial, the actual vial.
Yeah, she gives him the actual stuff.
The actual stuff, right? Stick with me here. Which turns both her and Gravik into super duper duper Skrull, and then they fight it out. First of all, the fight was kind of boring for what it was, I thought. But
terrible.
What kind of a plan is this? Like, why would he think that? Because they're both on equal footing, but why would he think that this would succeed? And if it doesn't succeed, and then on top of that, he's made another Gaia Super Skrull that has all these people's powers, and he's confident that she's not going to turn on them at some point. Doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, why does it make any sense to give it to them? Give her a fake vial.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you give her a fake vial? The result would have been exactly the same. The vial wouldn't have done anything. They're both already Super Skrulls. They would have fought, and then maybe Gaia would have still won. But if Gaia didn't win, now you don't have a guy with 50 powers, including Captain America and the Hulk and all these other things. The plan was so dumb. I think we were talking last week before the show. I was like, I can't imagine giving this show a lower rating than
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. I'm giving this a lower rating than She-Hulk when we get to it. So was it worth my time? I really wish I hadn't watched it.
You're
Okay.
going to give this a lower rating than She-Hulk?
I actually liked a couple episodes of She-Hulk. There was none of these episodes. I would never go back and revisit all of She-Hulk. There's a couple episodes I would go
That's
back
fair.
and watch that I
That's
thought
fair.
were funny, that I was entertained by. I might consider. I would never in a million years go back to this. So, what about you, Steve? Was this worth your time?
Sort of. I mean, I like the premise. I've said it before in previous episodes that I liked it. I just wasn't necessarily looking forward to it. I agree with the fight. Like the fight, like was the beginning of the finale, and it was done, and I was like, "That's it." Like, and I was thinking, my big beef is if Gravik is dead, where are the rest of the Skrulls? Did they just stop following his cause? What was going on with there?
Well, he killed like half his followers, but yeah, where are the rest of them?
Yes. I feel like they did not do enough with the entire Secret Invasion. I think they could have really amped that up, kept you guessing who was who until the very end. I mean, I liked the spy aspect. Was it worth my time? Maybe, maybe not. I won't watch it again, but
Yeah.
I liked it. I wasn't happy with the last episode. Just like She-Hulk, like you mentioned, the last episode has caused my rating to go down. So, Derek,
it was short. It was short.
It was short.
That's in Muppet Christmas Carol, the Statler Wolf. It was dull. It was pointless. It was short.
Yeah.
Now we didn't love it like they loved his speech, but no, this was. I mean, I struggle to see where this is truly going to change anything in the MCU.
Well, okay, now, but this plot twist with Brody being gone for so long, that's got to be important.
Maybe. He's got a movie coming up eventually, so we'll figure it out then. But
yeah, Armor Wars.
Armor Wars, or Ironheart. Yeah, they keep changing. It's Armor Wars, but it's gone from a series to a movie,
right?
So, but it's not even in production yet. So who knows?
No. Yeah.
Hashtag don't cross the
I
picket
will
line.
say,
Hashtag strike supporter.
Yes. The most interesting part of this series was kind of the last 5 minutes when the U.S. president just kind of declares war on the Skrulls.
Right.
I found the potential for the future to be more interesting than the show ever was.
Yeah, and I think that, especially when they show like these assassin squads going around and killing Skrulls and non-Skrulls, like
they think are Skrulls, right?
Yeah, like they kill the British PM that was actually the PM, not the Skrull pretending to be the PM.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, that sets it up for upcoming, but I just don't care. There was no connection to anybody in this. I mean, Olivia Colman, yes, she was great, but she was basically cameo fodder. Except for like the second episode, she was only in episodes like 2 minutes. So I mean, did they bring her in because they didn't want to use Julia Louis-Dreyfus? I mean, that would have been the perfect time for her to come in, for her to be coming in and going, look, I figured she would have been the one to approach Gaia at the end. That would have been the twist, was pull her in to the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have, and we're getting into the little bit end, but Kate, worth your time at all?
I think Steve had a good point that the premise of this show would have been worth your time. The premise of it. There was so many great places they could have taken this. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe this is a show that will like make more sense down the line. Like, oh, this is why they did that. Oh, I don't know. That's a little bit of a dangerous thing to do. because you're banking on the fact that people will look back and watch whatever. Olivia Colman, back to what Pete said, the cast was worth it. The acting, Olivia, like, it just, I know I keep saying Olivia Colman. All of the acting itself was great. It just, I will not be going back and rewatching this. I'm grateful that we were able to watch this in real time. My husband and I were able to watch this in real time with where we were in our Marvel journey versus watching it for Plus Platoon. Because now, to be fair, he really liked it. So
why did he really like it?
Because he liked the scroll. He really liked the you don't know who's real, you don't know who isn't. You don't trust no one kind of
There were no
vibe.
big reveals on that. There was no one that we were surprised.
Except for Gaia at the end.
No.
I did not see that. I did not see that coming. I didn't see it as Gaia.
There was no someone who's gone. I mean, if Olivia Colman had turned out to be a Skrull, that would have been a surprise reveal.
Dang, that would have been wild.
I mean, if the president had actually been a Skrull, or even what better if the president had been a Kree, that might have made it better.
I will say this, that Derek, you caused a great deal of confusion for me because you are the one who was like, did you all notice how Nick Fury sometimes has an eye mask and sometimes doesn't? So I think he might be a Skrull. And I think he only was wearing an eye mask. He was wearing an eye mask in flashbacks pre-snap. And then he wasn't wearing an eye mask until the very end of this episode when he put the eye mask back on, or whenever he put the eye mask back on and was like, we're going to go FS up. Like, we're going to go we're going to reclaim our power, essentially. But you got me all sorts of confused because I was like, oh man, he doesn't have a mask right now. Is he a Skrull? I don't know. So you, sir, caused some confused Kate. You're welcome.
You guys ever notice I kind of like to stick that kind of stuff in there just to mess with her a little bit?
That's because we wanted the show to be better than it was.
We wanted the show to be better.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. And that leads us into our next question.
It does lead us into our next question. And Kate, I'm going to start with you on this one. How could this be fixed? And you can pass if you need to, but just know this is your chance to go first.
No, I don't need to pass. I don't know. I don't know how they could have salvaged this. Maybe having a plot twist like Olivia Colman being a Skrull. Maybe just make it a little more relatable. That's not the word I want, but I just had no connection to any of these Skrulls. Like, I didn't have oh shoot, what was the Gravik? Like, right. I have no connection to Gravik except for that
sympathy to Gravik.
Right. There was like a minute where they were like, Nick Fury's gonna save all the Skrulls, and Gravik was like, sign me up. And then Nick Fury like dropped the ball. That was really the only, I had no emotional connection to Gravik or Gaia for that matter. I think that was part of the problem. I also think that's what's a little bit hard for me with some of the Star Wars stuff that we watch is I don't have the emotional connection to some of these characters like I do some of the others. So put more on the line for me. Put more, make it a bigger deal if this fan, theory is true that Warhammer doesn't know about the snap and that he's been a Skrull the whole time. Play that. I had no emotional connection to any of it except for Olivia Colman. And it wasn't because of her character. It's because she's a damn good actress. So, I mean, other than that, I did feel a little bit for Nick Fury's wife. I will say that scene where she said, you know, would you still have loved me if it was me? And then she becomes herself.
Know.
Yeah, but then she becomes herself in her physical demeanor, and he kisses her. I mean, that did get me. I was like, all right, well played, Marvel. I just had no emotional connection to anyone in this, even Nick Fury, because they kept playing him as a weak character. They kept downplaying his strength. So why would I be, not to say that weak people can't be emotionally connected to weak people, but it just had no emotional connection to it. And so that is what I would have fixed, is make me buy into it. Make me buy into Gravik. Why? Kind of like, remember, what was the show with Carly? The red,
iCarly.
no,
No, she's talking
Was
about
that Falcon
Falcon and
Winter
the Winter.
Soldier?
Falcon Winter
Yeah,
Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Like, you kind of bought into Carly. You kind of you became emotionally attached to Carly. I didn't have that with Gravik. So anyway, Pete, what do you think?
So the way I would fix, I agree with what you said. I'm not good at thinking emotions, so I don't know how you would, but I agree with you. We didn't have a character that we attached to. But to me, until the end that I hated, the biggest problem I had was how small scale everything seemed. It's supposed to be this huge, they're going to destroy the earth and everything like that. And the bad guys were like 20 people, it seemed like, and one of which was Gravik, and about halfway through he comes across as completely nuts, and then he kills half his people anyways. And then on the other side you have Nick Fury and Olivia Colman and Talos, and eventually Gaia. So you have like 20 people on one side and 4 people on the other side. There's one real character of any significance that we know is replaced with a Skrull, and that's Rhodey. That's all you could do is one character. I just like it needed to be more consequential. We needed to bring more I think we needed to have more characters we knew be replaced with Skrulls to make this feel more consequential. The only time it kind of got there was in the second episode when they had the Skrull Council and you found out like the British PM and these different people were Skrulls. But
Yes,
even
agreed.
there, it's like I didn't know these people, so it doesn't really affect me. I mean, if you had like Maria Hill and Bilbo and several
Bilbo was only in like the first episode, so that's, I mean, if he had been like shown up a couple other times so we really knew he was a Skrull, I mean,
right.
Yeah. But also, how can you just so unceremoniously kill Maria Hill? I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that death. That's the oh my gosh death that Marvel likes to throw at us sometimes. That's Loki dying at the beginning of Endgame.
Yeah, I was not that crushed by it. It didn't have the emotional heft it should have, like most of the show did. But anyways, I don't want to take up too much more time. But that's somehow make this seem bigger, even with clearly the show did not have the budget of some of like what, having come through WandaVision and Loki and all these shows with all these effects. We had a very low action, low character show, and I don't know, it needed to be bigger. So what about you, Steve?
Agree with both what you and Kate are saying. I think with Nick Fury, if he's in this down moment questioning everything he's done, really delve into that. Like you said, I never felt that emotional connection of you're really struggling with all your prior choices. I also think they really needed to up sort of the Cold War spy thing. Like after the second episode, if we know that there's other people that are posing as humans that are Skrulls, really keep that twists and turns of who could it be? Like really amp up. Is it Olivia Colman's character? Is it Rhodey? Who is it? Building up to that big sort of final climax. Like I really like your idea of someone being the president being like what's the word? I can't, losing me now. The other species. Kree, thank you. A Kree. Like really building up that. I think that's one reason I like it. I like sort of those suspense thriller spy movies, and I don't think they really built up on that. That's how I would make it better. Like keep you guessing until the very end. So Derek, yeah.
For me, I'm sorry, you keep talking about this isn't their fight, they don't need to be involved yet. They don't need to get, I'm sorry. He needed to call the Avengers. At least one or two of them. he needed to at least let a couple of them know, hey, we've got Skrulls getting ready to blow up the world. You're telling me you want to go all Lone Ranger on this? Seriously? No, he needed to call at least one or two of the Avengers. Bring in Rhodey as War Machine, and then make him turn as he is War Machine. Do it that way. That at least would have been a holy cow, he does what?
Yeah.
As opposed to we kind of understand that he's a Skrull, and then we know that because we see him having come out of the shower, and that's how we confirm that he's a Skrull.
But he's a woman Skrull.
Oh, what?
No, I know.
I mean, this was a lazy show.
Yeah.
It was
But was it the laziest?
laziest? Yes. I would say yes, it's the laziest. Is it the worst? We'll discuss that here in a little bit. But was it the laziest? Absolutely. Because the other ones we didn't like or didn't like some of, at least something happened.
One of my least favorite parts was during the battle between Gravik and Gaia, and how all of a sudden they had this like CGI arm. And it reminded me, isn't there a toy in Toy Story in Sid's room that's
the muscle guy yeah,
and it has like a duck head,
the duck with the big muscle,
the duck with the big muscle arm. Like Casey and I were watching this, and I was like, "That's so not needed. That's not. Just please make it stop."
And in reference to that last battle, I'm sorry, we have already done a Marvel series where someone shoots their energy at someone else and they absorb it. It was the WandaVision finale all over again.
Well, there's a lot more of that in
I
in Marvel. It's a lot of that in Marvel.
That's what but that's what I thought of, is they're flying up in the air and they're shooting energy at each other. It's WandaVision. It was the WandaVision finale is what it reminded me of. Okay.
Yeah.
So this brings us to, we have had several not that great like Marvel shows in part 4 and part 5 so far.
Mm-hmm.
This, after basically up until Endgame, Marvel could not really do wrong. Since Endgame, they haven't been able to do much right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve, I'm going to start with you. Is Marvel still the king of entertainment?
Yes, because there's nothing out there that's been able to dethrone them yet. So right now, if something wants to come along and dethrone Marvel, they're going to have an easy time. I feel that's what I would say. Is Barbie might come close. I haven't seen Barbie yet, but
really? It's so good.
But they've had misses. So, but I don't think there's anything that's come to that level yet. But that would be my argument, is yes, because nothing's better has come along to topple them.
Yeah, kind of king by default.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at financially and box office returns, yes, they are still for the most part. And we're gonna watch it next week. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did okay. It did okay, but
So I was just reading that today. Two made $866 million at the box office. 3, this is global. 3 made $846 million at the box office. So it did on par with, and in a post-COVID world, which movies don't do as well.
Now,
so
it came out before Ant-Man 3 or after Ant-Man 3?
After. Ant-Man 3 did bomb for sure.
Ant-Man 3 bombed.
Yes.
So I'm kind of with you, Steve. Yeah, they're still king because there is such a vacancy that could be absorbed at the top. I don't think it's coming from Star Wars. It's not coming from anything DC is going to come up with anytime soon. I mean, the Blue Beetle, really? I don't know if you guys have seen the previews for that, but seriously, that's their next big thing. I mean, we had the Michael Keaton Batman come back, but I mean, we've talked about this for a long time. When are we going to see some good original stories come from anybody? Because it's been all sequels lately. So I would agree with you, Steve. It's by default, but I think there is a vacuum up there that something will fill eventually. Kate?
As someone who I don't remember the last movie I saw in theaters. I know I saw Onward in theaters pre-COVID.
Sorry.
Can't I can't remember if I've seen a movie in theaters post COVID. I paid and went and saw the Barbie movie in theaters and loved it and would absolutely go again to see it because it was that good to me. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea and that's okay. Um listen. Okay, Endgame and everything pre-Endgame. What phase of Marvel was that?
3.
Okay. Phase 3 was very good. Like, I don't particularly know how they're going to top Thanos and what happened in Infinity War because that rocked all of its Marvel, just like, I don't know how you top that emotional response to a movie. And granted, I don't read the comics, so I don't know, but phase 4 has just felt more like a push for money and more like a push to put things on Disney Plus than it has we're going to except for WandaVision. WandaVision is the exception. And there may be one or two more exceptions.
Falcon and Winter Soldier wasn't terrible.
That's true. But it's just all fallen flat to me. Now maybe at the end of phase 4 I'll be like, oh my god, all of it makes sense, it was so great.
Phase 4 is over. Phase 4 is over.
We're actually in phase 5 now.
What?
Phase 5. Yeah, phase 5 started with the
Ant-Man.
Wakanda Forever.
Oh, did it? I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Wakanda Forever.
How was that a phase?
It was introducing characters.
Oh, sweet God. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
What that get out of here. Miss me with that, Marvel. Bye. Miss me with that. Oh, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Okay, sorry.
And Wakanda Forever, which none of us liked, by the way.
Yeah.
No, that is not true.
It's not that I didn't dislike it. It was better the second time I watched it.
Compared to your other Marvel ratings, it was low.
We all gave it 1 cup less than what we gave the first one, so it was not as good as the first one. But I
agree.
I would argue that it
wasn't
was not
as bad as
bad.
She-Hulk.
Wasn't as, but there's been a lot of. I do agree with you, Derek and Kate. A lot of weak sauce coming out of phase 4 and 5. Just not. Like there's no like right from the beginning, phase 1, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, it felt like it was building to something and then built to Avengers. And then the second phase built to Ultron, which wasn't a good movie, but it still built to something. Phase 4 just seemed like it was stuff being thrown at a wall. And so far,
but hang on though, because phase 1 and phase 2, did we even realize that they were phases?
No.
Like, I don't even think we realized they were phases.
By phase 2, they were calling them phases. They were.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But like, I remember seeing Captain America in theaters and just being like, I want to go out and buy a Captain America comic. Like, I love this movie. It is so good. Derek, can you look up what I gave the first Captain America movie?
We didn't. We haven't watched it.
Oh, we haven't watched it. Oh, okay. I remember loving it in the first Avengers movie. Like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And now it almost kind of feels like, and granted, I am more of a Marvel fan than I am a Star Wars fan, although I do like Rebels. We're going to talk about that. But it just feels like a grab. It feels like they're reaching, man. They're reaching. And I really hope they're reaching because they're going to build to something great in phase 11, because apparently that's how phases work now. But
no, and 5 and 6 is going to be the Kang saga.
Yeah, this is all the multiverse saga, but a lot of it has been, I don't know, it's
bad.
So I didn't answer the question, but I guess I kind of agree with everybody. Marvel's still the king, but they're a
They don't have any. They don't have any.
They don't make clothes.
They don't. They don't have any competition.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, the prequel to the Hunger Games is coming out, and so
you know,
but
I think
no.
Yeah, Kate didn't write it. Don't blame her.
I didn't write it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies this summer, and many of them were good, but none of them are as good as Marvel was at its peak. And so I don't see someone necessarily dethroning Marvel. I think they could still course correct. I'm still hoping that, especially with the writer's strike and the actor's strike, maybe they can come out of that and go, okay, let's go over these things. I mean, they've talked about doing less, which is, I think, part of the problem is that they've just been pumping so much out that maybe it's not getting overseen as closely as it was. That interview I read an interview with the guy that directed the series. He directed all the episodes, and they basically they gave him essentially free reign. They said, all you need to do is at the end, Fury has to go back up to space and Rhodey has to have legs that don't work, is what they told him. So if that's all they told him, that's kind of a problem. What?
No wonder it was terrible.
Right. Well,
no.
If nobody was overseeing it to make sure it made sense, you can still get good things from that. I'm not saying letting someone go on their own, but just kind of letting it, I don't know. I'm very nervous because, as I said, Marvel was very reliable for almost 10 years. And now since
Endgame,
for movies, since Endgame, I think the first few Disney Plus series, you mentioned WandaVision, I think because the first three were WandaVision, Falcon, the Winter Soldier, and Loki, right?
Yes.
Those were really solid, and Hawkeye was okay.
But even for those, you had to be a super Marvel fan to except maybe WandaVision was just so freaking good.
Yeah, it's Derek.
But
if Derek enjoys it, you don't have to be a big Marvel fan. So he liked WandaVision. I will agree. Will agree with Loki. You have to be a pretty big Marvel fan, but
yes,
because I did not like Loki.
Yeah,
I didn't like it the first time I watched it. I did like it the second time because it made more sense to me. I was also watching it with Casey, who could explain things. So
yeah, okay.
So I don't know. Has everybody made their comments?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much a yes for now.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we always do, we rate our movies, or when we've watched the complete series, we rate a series out of 5 cups of pixie dust. Kate, series Secret Invasion.
2. Olivia, and that's only because of Olivia Colman and Emilia Clarke.
Last week I would have given this a 2. After this final episode, I'm actually going to give this a 1. I did not like this. I did not like this at all. I thought I was so looking forward to this series. I mean, I gave She-Hulk, and the reason I give it a 1 is I gave She-Hulk a 1.5, a series I wasn't particularly looking forward to. And even though overall I did not like the series, there were points in the series I enjoyed. There was very few things I enjoyed about this other than the acting. And I would not recommend it. I would, even to a Marvel completist like Kate has been being, if she had come to me and said, should I watch this? I would have been like, you could probably skip it. So, Steve?
Oh, I'm giving it a 2.5, 2.5. I liked it. It had some issues, but again, the genre is up in the style that I like. So it was there. It could have been much better, but not quite bad enough to be a 2. So I'm giving it a 2.5.
This is a 1. This is a solid, hard 1, and I know that shocks you guys from me.
Derek, have you ever given anything less than a 1?
Yes. Not since I recalibrated my ratings. I recalibrated so 1 is the low.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, one is my yeah. I know Derek's gone down to 0. I've
well,
always I
again,
always said
I've
one.
adjusted those, so 1 is my low now.
Okay, well,
So
1 is my lowest too, and
yeah,
sorry, Sam Jackson.
yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, Sam
okay.
Jackson. Ooh.
I told Micah, our Marvel expert who came on,
Yeah.
not to watch this.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was going to join us.
He had other commitments this evening, but he had
Oh,
not
okay.
watched it as of 2 or 3 days ago. He had not watched any of the series, and I told him not to because I kind of
Wow.
summarized what happened. And he said, "Yeah, I really don't need to see that." So
Wow.
Well, and I think if you, as a fan of the comic book, because I'm not a big comic book person,
Well,
but what I know of it, I would
didn't
think
follow the
more
comics at all.
right. I think it would be even more disappointing.
Yeah. Okay. Since we have Ahsoka coming up, the Star Wars series coming up at the end of August, we have been watching a couple of Rebels episodes every week to kind of give us a little bit of background about the characters, so we are not going into this completely blind. These are recommendations from Pete. These are recommendations from Gina, from a couple other Star Wars experts that I've talked to. So we watched 2 episodes this week. Kate, thoughts about
Yeah. So
Rebels?
this was the first because I had a lot going on and completely forgot to watch it last week. That was on me. I watched last week's episodes and this week's episodes for this week. I find this much easier to watch than Clone Wars. I also would like the record to state that I was right that Ezra and Sabine both came out at, I believe, Walt Disney World, or they were characters when Rebels came out.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
Because I was
Yeah,
friends
probably.
with both people who portrayed those characters. And and that's why y'all were like Sabine, and I was like, I know that name. Anyway, so while this isn't particularly a show that I would invest in highly, I'm intrigued. It's giving me, I'm glad we picked the episodes we picked. I say we like I'm a part of it. I wasn't a part of picking what episodes were picked. But it's good. It's good. Pete, I see why you like this. If we could just skip Clone Wars, maybe Casey and I would actually make it through the Star Wars universe.
Again, this show, Clone Wars. Gina's not here to defend it. Clone Wars is a bad series with some good sections. There's some it's kind of like She-Hulk.
Yep.
The overall, except Clone Wars toward like the end really works, as opposed to She-Hulk where the end fell apart. But there's some good stuff in Clone Wars. Ahsoka is one of the good things of Clone Wars. There's like, I don't know what, 140 episodes of Clone Wars. Her character is the only one that got developed out of Clone Wars. You had a little bit with Anakin, but for the most part, she was the main character that actually got character out of that show. It was just a bunch of story, a bunch of fighting. It was pretty boring. What I love about this show is that, we had the first 2 episodes, which I think were important to watch because these are your main, if we include Chopper, these are your main 6 characters out of this show. The Hera, Sabine, Ezra, Kanan, Zeb, and then Chopper. Basically their story. This is their story from the beginning to the end of the series. They focus on these characters. They develop these characters. Now, the way we're watching it, you're not going to get to see all the development of the characters, and we're more trying to hit the highlights. But I think it works well. Watching that first episode, you introduce the characters, you kind of get to know them a little bit. Now, these 2 episodes we watched this week, I think the first episode, which was the last episode of season 1, you start to see how the whole first season, they're pretty much on their own. And then towards the end, they get pulled into the bigger rebellion, right? This is everything leading up to A New Hope, this series. Right. It leads almost right into A New Hope. So you get to see that out of that first episode we watched. You get to see how they start to get involved with the actual rebellion. And then the second episode, to me that we watched was big because that's where Ahsoka finds out that Anakin is Darth Vader. And you have to, Anakin trained her. They were very devoted to each other. He was a big defender of hers. She got accused of a crime at one point, and he was one of the few that still defended her. That ended up with her leaving the Jedi Order. And one of the good things about Clone Wars is it kind of implies that what happened to her kind of helped lead Anakin down the wrong path. And so we got to see that in this episode. And then we also got to see more of the Kanan Ezra relationship, which I think is kind of the heart of this show. So for that reason, I think these were good shows to watch when we're trying to limit ourselves to like 10 shows out of a series of 70 some episodes. So what did you think, Steve?
Actually, I've been binge watching from the very beginning. So I've completed season 1. I'm about a fourth of the way through season 2. I did jump to the other episodes so we could discuss it. I tried Clone Wars. I've tried Clone Wars more than once and just couldn't get into it. This I've been sucked in. I find it really enjoyable, especially once I figured out where it was in the timeline and what was going on. So really enjoying it. So I plan to probably watch it through is it the 4 I think there's 4 seasons. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's 4 seasons. The second and third are longer than the first and the fourth.
But they're 20-minute episodes, so it's really you could quickly go through it. I mean, the opening credit scene is like less than 5 seconds. So
yeah, it's like
by the time you're done. Yes. So I'm enjoying it. So Derek, what do you think?
I did not get as connected to these 2 episodes as I did to the first 2 episodes, mainly because the first 2 had a little bit more of a developed plot within those 2 episodes. The whole serialized 20-minute Saturday morning cartoon style of Clone Wars of Rebels works in that they're short episodes and you don't have to pay super close attention, to be perfectly honest. At the same time, I think if I would sit and watch the whole series, I'm not sure I could binge it, to be perfectly honest, but it's a case of I think I would make more connections to the characters and would care more about what happens. We did meet Ahsoka in these 2 episodes. Who was voiced by Rosario Dawson in the series, correct?
No, it's still Ashley Eckstein, I think it is. It's still the person that was doing it in Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson only did the live action.
Okay. So, I mean, it was fine. It was okay. It's I think watching these are going to help with getting ready for Ahsoka, because I'm actually going to know who some of these people are, because apparently they're bringing the band back together for the Ahsoka series. So I think it's going to help, but I'm not super hooked yet. So, okay. We are going to keep watching a couple episodes every week. I want to announce at the end of the show which episodes we're going to watch for next week. Okay.
So I do want to can I make one couple other points on this?
Mm-hmm.
The first episode we watched, which was the last episode of season 1, the Grand Inquisitor there, that was the same character from Obi-Wan that was helping to hunt Obi-Wan in that series. So he was played, I forget, he was played by Rupert Friend or something like that in in that show. In this show, he's played by Draco Malfoy, I believe.
No.
But yeah, so that's the same character. He was killed in that final episode, but he does appear in Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan takes place before this. And I think that's the main thing I wanted to point out. So
okay. All right. And I did recognize Seventh Sister, because if you ever were at the the Jedi Temple kids show where the kids can come up and like battle either Seventh Sister or Darth Vader or someone, and you hadn't watched this, you wouldn't know who Seventh Sister was. So that did help make that connection there, because that's who my son actually fought twice when he did it.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So the other character with Seventh Sister, that other Inquisitor, he was the Asian
Obi-Wan.
He was the Asian guy in Obi-Wan. So both those Inquisitors, but the Seventh Sister was not in Obi-Wan. So
okay, awesome. Kate, what have we got for Disney Plus news this week?
Unmute myself. Disney Plus news. First of all, a new Star Wars series, Lando, has been announced, starring Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Thank you. The series will be written and directed by Glover with his brother. There you go.
Sure. And he played Lando Calrissian in the Solo movie.
Yes.
Derek, did the Disney Plus news change from
earlier,
when I looked at it 20 minutes ago?
Yeah,
okay,
so
cool.
There's a second one.
Oh no, one of them disappeared.
Oh yeah,
there was a Disney
different one. There was a different one that don't.
We're not gonna talk about that one right now.
I don't know if it's showing up on yours. Loki season 2 has released.
Loki season 2 has released a trailer that has set Disney Plus records for all trailers ever released as far as viewership numbers. Loki season 1 is also the most watched Marvel series on the service. Wow, more than WandaVision.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Which tells you part of it is character recognition, I think, as far as why some of these series have not done so well, is because you brought in the actual Loki actor. And I think it helped.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 100% Tom Hiddleston. That like Marvel fans love Loki and they love Tom Hiddleston. So
that's fair.
I completely see why that is.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And that's coming to us first part of October. So
cross our fingers.
Yeah, in theory, it's coming 1st of October. Basically, I've heard anything after that, who knows? So, and I think they're still talking about releasing Echo for Thanksgiving, all at once at Thanksgiving.
All at once, which is scary.
Which means it's probably not very good, to be perfectly honest. Okay, next week, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is being released on the service, so we will be watching it on this show, which will honestly probably be the last Marvel we do until Loki.
I mean, there isn't any, really.
Well, there's some of the older movies could be done, but
if we went into the vault,
the last movie,
it'd be good for a break. Yeah.
Yes. You're telling me it'd be good for a break. So, and we'll also be watching Rebels season 2, episodes 21 and 22. These are the Ahsoka, Anakin, Darth Vader episodes,
and Darth Maul too.
And Darth Maul, yes. So these are big, huge plot point episodes in the Star Wars universe, especially as we get ready to go into Ahsoka. As I said, we're gonna have a gap. So we're gonna have some open times in late August and especially a good chunk of September and honestly a good chunk of October that we're not sure what's coming out. So if there's anything on the Disney Plus that you want us to watch, please email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. Because we want to know what you guys want to see. What's your favorite old movie? Okay? What's your favorite old movie that you want us to go back and look at that you think is completely underappreciated? And we'll have you on. If we choose your selection, you'll have the opportunity to come on and discuss it with us. Because there's certain stuff that we want to watch. We have some things lined up because there's some of the stuff we want to go back and look at that's old. Yes, Kate, Sword in the Stone is coming.
Yay!
But we can't do all animated, or we could do all animated. You want to talk about one of the animated forgotten classics? You want to try and convince us why Saludos Amigos is the best Disney animated show ever? We'll discuss it.
Okay? Let's do a Herbie movie.
I could get on board with a Herbie movie.
Me too.
Oh, we'll discuss in our next production meeting. So, Come on, writers and actors, don't let me down.
Yeah, we're gonna need the producers to come to the table with these actors because, like,
yeah, and
Otherwise, we're going to be
for
watching
many
Herbie
reasons.
movies.
and it's not happening at all so far. So
Yeah, it's not great.
Guys, we do have new episodes coming out every Thursday on YouTube and all of the major podcasting services. For Kate, Pete, and Steve, we will see everyone next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @plusplatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.